her dying patients will ask her to call their estranged adult children who have gone no contact. And when my team saw one of her videos, we, wanted her to join us in this conversation. Here's a quick look.
If you are the type of person who continues to see no contact with your dying family member, even after I, as the hospice nurse, call you and say that that is their final dying wish to talk to you, then I think that's totally fine. I don't judge you, and I don't think you owe people who abused you peace. I don't mind being the bad guy and telling them no. I'll even update you when they pass if you ask me to and be your shoulder to cry on. And if all you feel is relief, that's totally normal too, and you're not a bad person.
When I first heard your story and I hadn't seen you on TikTok, I was like, wow, what an interesting thing. You're putting these estranged children with their dying parents, but it's not that at all. In most cases, they don't, right? They say no. I don't want to see them.
They do in most cases, but it's difficult. I've had conversations before where they say, what should I do? And they asked me, and that's very difficult. When I became a hospice nurse 10 years ago, I was not estranged from my own biological father. And about 7 years ago, I did become estranged from him. So I really began to understand more how those children are and what they're feeling whenever they're getting that phone call.
Wow. And so what do you find when the people who are dying ask to see their children? Are they asking to see their children, their estranged adult children, because they want to apologize, because they have regrets, because they want to have final words?
I don't believe personally that they usually want to apologize because they're telling me, do they know that I'm dying? It almost feels like a guilt trip to me. Like, please tell them that I'm dying and maybe they'll talk to me.
The real reason why Oprah Winfrey did this podcast to open up a conversation about why so many adults are going no contact with their parents. This is just my opinion, because Oprah, I feel, is not on the victim side. She plays like she is. She's doing the passive aggressive thing. She's straddling the fence and playing both sides, but she's really for the abusive parents, okay? Baby boomer generation. My mother and father, your mother and father. Hey, Oprah Winfrey is also a baby boomer. Keep that in mind. But I feel the reason why she really did this podcast was not to support the victims, because there was a lot that could have been said in this podcast. There was really no emphasis on narcissistic abuse. They danced around it. They really tried to avoid that word narcissist, because that's all this is. Mom and dad are narcissists, and they have no empathy, no emotional connection to their children, and they're very entitled. That's most of the boomer generation. But Oprah, I feel that she did this podcast and tried to play like she was not showing favoritism to either sides, but low key, if you can read body language and listen to the tone of her voice throughout this podcast, she is for the baby boomers. And what's happening right now in this nation, the boomer generation is old. They're in their 70s and 80s, which means they need somebody to take care of them because they're becoming sick and old and helpless. And they know deep in their heart they did their children dirty. And because we have the internet and social media, and all of us that were abused are coming forward, and we are now exposing our families for doing this, the boomer generation, they are crashing out and spiraling. They are panicking. And the government is taking away, allegedly, because I did 2 videos on this last year. I already talked about this. They're going to lose their Medicaid. How are their medical bills, their nursing bills? How is all that getting paid? Unless they move in with their adult children, and their adult children take care of them, which they will not, because y'all abused us. Now you need us to fucking wipe your ass and push you around in the fucking wheelchair because you won't be able to afford the nursing home. That's what this is about. Oprah's trying to facilitate a situation where we feel guilty for cutting off our parents because they need us. They're getting old. They just want to keep fucking using us. They don't want to get back with us because they love us and they're truly sorry. They want to use us some more because they need our assistance. They need us to help pay their bills, their medical bills, their living expenses, go grocery shopping. They need us. And now they're realizing they've done us so dirty and they don't know how to come back from it. And they're not really apologetic. They just still need to have access to their adult children to use us some more. You watch that clip, that young lady, that nurse, she said it. Those patients that are old and they're dying, they're on their deathbed. They try to guilt trip their adult children one last time. And what happens? The nurse says, hey, your child doesn't want to see you, which means the abuse was really bad. The nurse will explain to the dying patient, I reached out to your child. They said they don't want to talk to you. I can offer you, if you want to write a letter, I will give it to your child when you pass away. What happens? That dying elderly person says, no, I ain't writing no letter. Yeah, because it was all about manipulation. You're not really sorry. You tried to guilt trip your child. You wanted your child to see you dying on your deathbed to still continue to have some form of control, even when you're dying and going out. That's how manipulative the narcissistic baby boomers are. They continue to manipulate and abuse their children, even from the grave. That's why Oprah is trying. She's repping her generation and trying to help her generation regain control of the adult children that cut them off because they're getting old and they need us. They need us and they know they fucked up. It's so far gone. They don't know what to do. They're spiraling and they know they're going to lose their Medicaid and everything. They'll do everything except take their ass to therapy and apologize and get themselves together and straighten up for their children. That's why I say, y'all, I don't feel bad. When they on their dying bed, they still manipulating, they still playing psychological games. It's not to be trusted. And I don't blame the adult child for not wanting to go visit their dying parent. They was right. Listen to the nurse in that clip. Go re-listen to that clip. The nurse offered the dying elderly person, you can write a letter, I will give it to your child. Tell your child you're sorry in the letter and you really love them. No, the pride, the ego of a narcissist will not allow them to bow down to their fucking child who they know they fucking abused and did dirty. That's why they die miserable and alone. Fuck them.